Nothing that I talk about on this channel really matters. Literally every single thing that I talk about on this channel is useless, completely worthless. I'm talking about the productivity hacks, the study strategies, the memorization techniques. They're extremely ineffective if you haven't reprogrammed your mindset first. And I've been thinking about this recently. The stuff that I talk about on this channel is hardly like pioneering brand new information that's never been taught before, right? A lot of it is pretty common knowledge. So then why are we not doing it? Most of us watch a YouTube video, but then we never actually do anything about it. We walk away and we never actually make any changes. And I know this. I've coached hundreds of students in my Transform Your Grades course over the last few months. And the very first thing I do is I teach about resetting your mindset. That means completely changing the way that you think, your thought process, essentially hitting the reset button, and I guess completely reprogramming your mindset. Because once you've done that, it's only then that you'll be more likely to take massive action to actually turn your life around. You see, 8 years ago when I was a super lazy student at high school getting very mediocre grades, I knew a lot of this stuff. I knew that rote learning was a very ineffective study method. I knew that I needed to sleep early and wake up early. I knew that I should be eating healthily and going to the gym. These are all kind of very basic stuff, right? I mean, everyone knows this stuff. So then why didn't I implement it? I knew what I needed to do, but instead I just kept continuing to get crappy grades exam after exam. So how did I reprogram my mindset to completely change the way that I think? This is how I did it. Step 1, become obsessed with personal development. So looking back, this is really where my journey started, when I started to learn about personal development. And the more I read books and watched YouTube videos and watched documentaries and listened to podcasts, the more I realized that I actually did have a lot of dreams and goals and incredible things that I wanted to do, but then I never actually did them. I'd spend more time and energy in kind of making up excuses and reasons why I couldn't achieve these incredible dreams and ideas, and so they'd stay locked up inside. And that's what's happening to me for most of my life. And I think it's why I love informal education so much. Not necessarily formal education like going to school or university, but informal education. So the education that you choose to do in your own free time, like reading books, for example. Because it's after I started picking up this habit that I realized that I was responsible for my own misery. I was responsible for the fact that I was unhappy and living a very mediocre life. I remember watching a TED Talk fairly recently actually from an entrepreneur called Carrie Green, and she kind of had quite an unusual approach to motivating herself to not live a mediocre life.
Imagine walking into a room, and sat in the room are your friends and family. And as you walk down the centre of the room, you see a box. And as you get to the front of the room, you realise that you're in the box and it's your funeral. What kind of things do you want people to be saying about the kind of life that you lived, about the kind of person that you were and the kind of things that you achieved? And I realised I had no idea.
Because once you make it very clear about what you want to be known for, what it is that you want to achieve in, let's say, 5 or 10 or 15 years time, then you need to ask yourself, why do you want to achieve it? And then what kind of person do you need to be to make that happen? Because once you have the answers to those 3 questions, believe me, it's a whole lot easier to then reprogram your mindset to make it happen. Step 2, ride the wave. So step 1 is really about surrounding yourself with personal development, whether that's the books that you read, the people that you talk to, the YouTube videos that you watch. It's all about triggering that first step towards changing the status quo in your life. So that could be, I don't know, studying an extra hour every evening after you come home, or maybe leaving behind your social circle because they don't support your ambitions and they drag you down, and moving to a more supportive group of friends. Step 2 is about using the momentum and kind of riding the wave. So let me explain. Let's say you start to study an extra 1 hour every evening, and I don't mean kind of mindless, lazy studying, but I mean 1 hour extra, really strategic, focused studying. And so this is what happened with me. My grades started to improve, and for the first time in my life, I was getting A grades. Up until the age of about 18, I'd literally never achieved an A grade in my entire life. So this completely blew my mind that I was actually capable of this. My grades started to significantly improve, so then I was like, okay, if I can make that happen, something that I previously thought was impossible, what other crazy goals can I set for myself and make happen. And that's how I rode the wave. I took advantage of the momentum I was building up in my life. So I was like, okay, how about I start a YouTube channel? So this was 5 years ago. I went ahead and started this very YouTube channel. And then I was like, okay, I've always wanted to learn boxing and MMA. So I went ahead and did it. And I wanted to move to Amsterdam. So I did it. Then I wanted to live in Vietnam. So I packed my bags and I moved to Vietnam. You know, these are things that I would never have thought I would do just 5 years prior. But suddenly I'm just not scared anymore. And so for me, getting good grades had nothing to do with the grades themselves. I'll probably never use the economics and finance degree I spent so much time and effort studying for. But why I value it so much is because it was kind of like a gateway to so many other things. It taught me how to grow and succeed. And then I could apply that knowledge to other domains. It was like, if I can completely turn my grades around, then what else in my life can I transform to? And when you truly realize that you are in complete control of your own life, that's an incredibly powerful place to be. And that leads us nicely onto the third and maybe the most important kind of realization, I guess, that helped me reprogram my mindset. Step 3, be the captain of your own ship. So step 3 is really where everything changes, and I love coaching students that are kind of on this level because it's where I really get to witness incredible transformations. These students understand how important having a growth mindset is to their overall happiness and success. So the students with a growth mindset that genuinely believe that they can improve their grades over time, they do so. And the students that don't believe that they can improve their grades over time, they don't. It's like the Chinese philosopher Confucius once said, "He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right." So like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, in the Transform Your Grades course, there's about 7 hours of lectures in total, as well as worksheets, quizzes, planners, private community, etc, etc. Basically, I'm giving you everything you need to transform your own grades, just like I managed to. But the first, I'd say 1 hour of the course is focused entirely on strategies to reprogram your mindset, because I know the students that go through this course, they need to kind of approach it with a completely reprogrammed mindset, if that makes sense. And that's why I spend so much time training my students on exactly how to do that, because it's a beautiful thing when a student starts the course with kind of a fixed mindset, then they go through the mindset conditioning part of the course, and with their mind open wide, they're then far more receptive to the study strategies that I teach, and it's then that I get to witness with my own eyes some really inspirational transformations. And there's a link in the description below if you are interested in transforming your own grades. We're currently running a promotional offer, so do check it out. And so the only difference between someone that believes that they can achieve incredible things and someone that believes that they can't is simply a different perspective on intelligence. There have been countless studies where brain scans were conducted on a group of people with a fixed mindset and a group of people with a growth mindset. And the scans showed that the brains of the people with a fixed mindset became more active when receiving information on how the person performs, such as when receiving a grade or a score. However, the group with a growth mindset, their brains became most active when receiving information on what they could do better next time. In other words, people with a fixed mindset focus more on the end result, so the grade that they will get, whereas people with a growth mindset focus more on the process, such as how they can study or work more efficiently. This whole journey that I'm on in terms of reprogramming my mind, it started, I'd say about 8 years ago, but I don't think it will ever really end, and I don't want it to end. It really boggles my mind to think how much I've grown over the last 8 years, and if I continue to grow and develop myself at kind of the same pace over the next 10 years or 20 years, the possibilities are really endless. And that's a really interesting thought. Where am I going to be in 20 years time if I continue consciously and actively chasing my goals and dreams? And also, where are you going to be in, let's say, 20 years time if you really go all in with one specific area in your life and you give it everything you have for 20 years? And so if you're maybe on your own transformational journey, I uploaded a video recently on how I transformed from lazy to motivated in just 1 year. I talk more about my journey and go into kind of more detail on the exact steps that I took to get where I am today. You can click on the card on the screen to watch that. I also made a video on actually the reason why I packed my bags and moved across the world to Vietnam. It's probably not what you'd expect. Again, you can click on the card on the screen, and whichever video you choose, I'll see you over there.